Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lonnie Herrick from PTO Today, and I am here with my colleague, Julie Drummond. And we also have Jay McGilligan, who's running things behind the scenes for this webinar and this session. And we're here to talk with you of the ins and outs of parent group insurance. We know it's a topic that can seem intimidating, and we are ready to break it down for you and make it a little bit less scary. So a couple of quick housekeeping things. If you have any questions of your own at any point during the session, feel free to submit them in the questions box that you'll see on your screen, because we will have time to do a Q&A before finishing up today. We will also be sending you a link after this session is done in a couple days with a recording for what we've covered here today. And you'll be able to download a PDF of the slides that we're going to be going through today, as well as a handout with important questions to ask when you're looking to buy insurance. Finally, we're going to be doing some quick check-ins throughout the session with a poll. So just keep an eye out for those. So let's get started. So first, just in case some of you aren't as familiar with PTO Today, I just wanted to spend 1 minute talking about our background. We have a lot of solutions and a lot of things we've learned along the way, because we've been offering insurance coverage since 2007. And our main purpose is to give parent groups and booster clubs what you need to be successful. And we've put together convenient packages for insurance, so there's no need to figure out what to get from some long list of a la carte options. And we're really proud of what we offer to help protect your group, and we'll get into this more at a little bit later in the session. And I also just want to make a very quick note that if you do get insurance coverage through PTO Today, any insurance purchase comes with our Plus membership, which also has additional benefits, including access to our Plus only Facebook group. So now we'll really get into the meat of things. How many of the pictures in this situation are familiar scenarios to you? Maybe not all of them, but I bet some of them are. And all of these photos, even the fun looking ones, show something that might be a risk for parent groups that can be covered by insurance. So, take a quick look and just see if you can spot the risks in it. And now we'll get into our very first poll. Do you have insurance coverage? How many of you here with us today purchase your own, have coverage through your school, don't have insurance at all, or honestly didn't even know you needed insurance? And so we'll give everybody here a minute to respond, and then we'll post the results. Just give it another few seconds. All right, so it looks like some of you are getting your own insurance, and many of you don't have insurance coverage at all. So it's a good thing that you're with us today to learn more about this. So one thing that's important to know is that if your group is covered through the school, which some of you without insurance might be thinking about doing, that you should just also double check. And it's important to know that in most cases, not all, but many of them, that school insurance doesn't actually cover your parent group, and you would need your own coverage separate from the schools. So you can confirm with your school whether that's the case. You can talk with the principal, the district business manager, or if there's a risk manager, they can help answer that question. So why is it that parent groups need insurance? The main reason that you should have insurance is, just like in life, you want it to protect you when things go wrong. It's not a very fun thing to think about things going wrong, and none of us want to think about those bad things that could happen. And so the peace of mind that you would get from having the insurance is really a huge help by letting that worry subside to the background. We've all seen embezzlement stories in the news. We've heard ourselves at PTO Today from groups who've lost equipment or inventory to leaky ceilings or to windstorms, and the list goes on. So that's the peace of mind that you can get by having that coverage. Insurance is also good even beyond protecting your group directly. There are other benefits to having up-to-date insurance in place. The main one is that it reinforces your legitimacy with your volunteers as well as with the wider community. So having insurance shows that your group takes its work and its mission really seriously, and that you see yourself as a real nonprofit as opposed to just, kind of something that's being done on the side. Officers and committee chairs and volunteers can also feel confident themselves that your group is operating responsibly and feel that they're also protected by having that insurance. But one thing we'd like to check in with you about now is how comfortable you feel and your group feels talking about these insurance needs. Is it something that you're totally fine with? Is it a little nerve-wracking because it's, this sort of mysterious coverage, you're not sure what everything means, or do you just go out of your way whenever you can, not even to talk about it at all? And so we'll give everybody a minute to respond to this one. Right, so got a lot of people who find it a little nerve-wracking, but work through those nerves to talk about the things you need to talk about. Smaller number that find it easygoing, which is great. The best thing you can do is be comfortable talking about these business topics. And then some of you who've also never talked about it before, so we're also especially glad to have you joining us here today as well. So for the kind of work that parent groups do, there are really 5 general types of insurance coverage that are going to help protect you that you'll want to consider. We will go through each one of these 5 one by one on the next few slides, and I promise we've simplified the concepts a lot, so we really are hoping that it's easier for everybody to understand and not feel like this is a mysterious topic that you can't figure out. So first, let's talk about general liability, which is really, we think of as the basic building block of insurance. Many venues, including school and municipal facilities, won't actually allow your group to hold an event if you don't have general liability coverage. So this coverage, it protects your group and volunteers against what we call third-party bodily injury and property damage claims. And so third-party just means that a person is making a claim against your group's insurance that they got hurt as a result of something that you or your group did. So for example, somebody might trip over a thick electrical cord that's going through the middle of a hallway and they sprain their ankle. So their claim would be made as a third-party bodily injury claim against your group for negligence because this cord was a trip hazard and it was in the hallway. That's not saying that's something that would happen all the time. That's just an example to help illustrate what general liability insurance is for. Next up, we have excess accident medical. And so if an injury or an accident does occur, in some cases that can lead to significant medical costs. So the excess accident medical insurance is going to provide medical coverage to the participants at your PTO-sponsored events if someone does get hurt. And this would only kick in if their own primary medical insurance didn't cover all the costs. Then this coverage would cover the excess that wasn't covered under their primary insurance. The third one is directors and officers insurance. You know, your board members and your committee chairs are responsible for making decisions and for running your group. And so any one of your board members could be sued personally for a decision that was made by the group. So this directors and officers insurance, it's often shortened to D&O. This protects your board members, your event chairs, and anyone else who are making decisions on behalf of the group. And this would be if a claim of mismanagement or misrepresentation got filed. So as a side note, if your group is incorporated, your officers will benefit from what's called the corporate shield that comes along with incorporation. But having D&O insurance, even if you're incorporated, will cover, let's say, any of the legal fees that might be associated with trying to deal with any such lawsuits that might occur, even if you do have that corporate shield in place. So we're now on to our fourth type of coverage, crime coverage. It's hard to imagine any of the volunteers stealing from the PTO funds. Unfortunately, theft from the PTO is something that a few groups, and maybe even more than a few, have had to overcome. And we've seen newspaper headlines as recently as, the past couple months, and maybe even just the past couple weeks, about PTO groups being victims of embezzlement. So this type of coverage, what it does is it would replace your stolen money, and that way your group could continue operating as usual. Finally, we have property insurance. And your group works really hard to raise your funds and then to allocate them to the programs and equipment that are going to help make a better enrichment environment for your students. So the property insurance would protect your physical property, let's say cotton candy machines, a computer or a projector, fundraising merchandise, spiritware, against theft and damage. So if you have a pipe burst and water floods your storage room, and you have rolls of wrapping paper that you were planning, saving an inventory to sell later, imagine the cost associated with replacing all those rolls. That's why this coverage would help with that reimbursement for that physical property that might be damaged or stolen. So let's check in one more time with our last poll. When do you expect to buy insurance? Are you looking at or buy or change your providers if you're looking at that, within the next 3 months, 6 months, longer than 6 months? You're not sure, or you're all set, you're covered, and you're sticking with what you got. All right, it looks like we've got about 2/3 of our company here today who are looking to buy insurance in the near-term future, and then a few people who are looking at a little bit of a longer timeline, and then a few of you who aren't sure yet and just figuring things out. So what we have to talk about next here is how to buy insurance. Now that we've talked about what you might want to buy, we want to make sure that if you're attending this session today, that you know how to go about getting insurance. And especially for those of you who find it uncomfortable or a little bit, nerve-wracking, we hope this helps you. So first things first, make sure you ask these questions and then compare the answers from all the providers that you're considering. That way, you'll be able to weigh the benefits and drawbacks, and then you can choose the provider and the coverage that's going to work best for your group and the coverage you need. We will have a handout for you when we send you the link to the archived session recording. After this is over, we'll send that in a couple days, and we will have a handout there for you that actually has the answers to all these questions for PTO Today insurance. And that way, especially if you're considering other providers, you already have that figured out for one of the people that you're considering. As a side note, we also have an insurance FAQ online with answers to these questions, as well as a lot more frequently asked questions. And we will have a link to that page in our resources slide at the end of the session. So at PTO Today, we've bundled together these 5 different kinds of insurance coverage that we walked through, and we put them into different packages that are going to address what we find parent groups and booster clubs need most. So as I mentioned earlier, all insurance purchases include membership in our PTO Today Plus program, and so you'll see that listed here as well. Plus membership provides discount on products. You get priority access to our leader support team. Julie, who's here with me today to answer the questions in a little bit, is part of our great leader support team. You also get access to exclusive content and other benefits as well. I also just wanted to mention that going on right now through December 13th, we are having our fall promotion, and you can get $100 off the recommended package through December 13th. So just wanted to make sure you knew that. So because we're going to send you a link where you can download a copy of these slides, we wanted to just make sure to also include some definitions of common terms for your reference. And as always, if you have more questions about other terms you might come across or what these terms might mean, our leader support team is happy to help with that. So I have a few of our helpful resources listed here. The first couple are our articles. We have a quiz where you can rate, figure out really what's your depth of knowledge about when and where insurance coverage might kick in. And then we have an article about how insurance helps protect your volunteers from legal risks. And then if you wanted to check out our insurance packages, which are just the same ones that we saw on the slide before, we have more detail about those packages and the pricing. Here's the link to the FAQs that I mentioned. And then we also have an information sheet that you can download, and that's something that you can share with your other board members to learn more about our insurance. We'll also have that insurance info sheet as a handout when we send you the archived session link as well. So I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Julie, who works with our leader support team. She helps groups every day with their insurance questions.
Thank you, Lonnie. Well, it looks like we have a couple of questions that are coming in now. Here's one. Do we need to submit a list of all of our events for approval? Well, the answer to that is no, you don't. If you see your event listed as a covered event or activity on the insurance pages on our website, then you do not need to submit it for pre-approval. If your event or the activity is not listed as specifically covered, or if you're uncertain, just call and ask us. I will say that if your event has an attendance greater than 800, or if you're going to have alcohol at an event, these must be submitted for official review through our process. Let's see if we have another question. This is good. Can we hold events off school grounds? If you're holding an event off school premises, we do ask that you run the specifics of the event and the location by us. But in general, yes, this is permitted. I do want to note that events cannot be held at private homes. That's important to note. Okay, here is a question regarding additional insured. Additional insured is something that we deal with on a daily basis. It's when an entity or a venue that's not specifically mentioned in your insurance policy wishes to be added or listed on your insurance certificate. This might be if you're having an event at a particular location and that location wants to be listed as an additional insured on your insurance certificate policy. That is something very common. There is no cost to have that done. You just complete a form online, which we have the link on our website, and provide the exact details of how the entity wishes to be listed, the wording. Sometimes they want their address, sometimes they want some other special language. There also may be a request to provide an additional endorsement page with the additional insured listing on the certificate. Again, these are all very common and there's no cost to process them. And once we get your submission, we can turn it around within, say, 2 business days. The additional insured, I will let you know, that could be for a particular event, but we also process them for your school district or the Board of Education if they specifically request to be listed as an additional insured on your certificate. And that's more of a blanket additional insured for all of the events that you might hold. We can do that in the case of the district. Again, no cost. Well, involving events with alcohol. Yeah, yes, you can have alcohol at your event. It does need to go through the process, as I had mentioned before, for approval to ensure that proper coverage is in place. Now, there are several factors involved in that. It could be included under your general liability policy, or again, depending on the provision and the serving and money exchanged, etc. Additional liquor liability may need to be purchased. The fees for the premium for liquor liability, if you do need to purchase that for your event, those are listed on our website and they're based upon attendance at that event. And I do want to also stress that involving alcohol, we recommend best practices. And in terms of insurance, there are requirements for safety at the event involving drink limitations, security, and other factors to consider, such as ensuring there's food at the event and providing Uber or Lyft or services such as that if necessary. Are after-school programs covered? Well, we would need to review the circumstances, but if your PTO is sponsoring the after-school programs and running them, and by running them, I do mean that they are manned and staffed by volunteers, not paid instructors. This is important because if you have a paid instructor at your after-school program, they would need to have their own insurance in place. And you, as a PTO group, would ask to be listed as an additional insured on their insurance certificate. But if the activities that are provided at the after-school program fall under the covered events of the PTO Today coverage, and you are not using the paid volunteers, then yes, they could fall under the coverage. How soon can you get coverage? Sure. Upon receipt of your application and approval of that, along with payment, payment is required in full in order for the coverage to be effective for the annual time period. Coverage could be effective at midnight if paying by credit card, again, at midnight the next day after we've received your application approved and the payment. If you're sending in a check, which of course is an acceptable method of payment, we would need to receive that check in hand in our office, and then the coverage would be effective at midnight. I see another question popped up regarding, can our district be listed as an additional insured? And yes, as I believe that we mentioned earlier, that is a common request, certainly can be done. It's more of a blanket provision, additional insured for all the events that your PTO may be holding. And we can issue that at the time of purchase or at any time that it's being requested of you by the district. Oh, here's what do we need to do if we need to file a claim. We do have the claim forms on our website, and you file directly with those carriers. And there are 800 numbers and contact info available provided so that if you have questions regarding completing those claim forms, that assistance is available to you. And I don't see any other questions at the moment. happy to answer anything that comes up. You can either call us at the office, you can email us at insurance@ptotoday.com. On our website, we also have a live chat function. We're happy to talk to you. Don't forget about our recommended package special of $100 off that we're just launching today as a promotion. And I think that's about it for today, but we're happy to add all of this content and the answers to all of the questions. And we'll be getting that link out to you from the online session in just a couple of days.
Thanks so much, Julie. And thank you to all of you for attending today. As Julie mentioned, we'll take the rest of the questions that come in and we'll add them to the archived session. We'll send you a link to that. We will answer all the questions that were submitted and answered today as well in that format. And we hope to see you soon online or at one of our events.